Hey, it's Coach Justin from Ultimate Baseball Training, and in this video, I'm gonna share with you 10 ways to stand out as a baseball player. So whether you've got an upcoming tryout, you're trying to make the team, maybe you're trying to make varsity for the first time or play at the next level, or maybe you just wanna stand out on the field in a positive way, I really think these 10 tips are gonna help you get there. So without further ado, let's jump into it. The first way to really stand out on the field is put in the extra work. This is gonna make you stand out to your coaches because they're gonna see this player has a desire to really get better, and it's literally gonna make you stand out with your performance because you're spending time improving your skills and you're getting better at such a rapid pace. So I know this sounds basic, work hard, put in the extra work, but stay with me here. You have to understand every athlete out there thinks that they work hard, right? Everybody thinks they work hard. So my question to you is, are you really working hard, and compared to what? Compared to what? Here's average, right? By definition, if you want to be an above average player, you have to be willing to do what the average players are not willing to do, right? So average players, they show up to practice on time and they leave on time. Good players, they might show up a little early or stay a little late. The great players, they show up early, they stay late, they put in the extra work, and the difference is they do it with consistency. So it's not once a year they spend 4 hours after practice hitting until their hands bleed because they're slumping. It's not that. It's 2% or 5% extra effort that the average players are not willing to do, but it's compounded. They do that day in, day out, consistency, and that's what makes all the difference. Number 2 is be a coachable player. So show up every day with enthusiasm and a willingness to improve. Be open to constructive criticism and be open to feedback and be willing to make adjustments. Coachable players, that's what coaches want on their team. They don't want guys who every single time they give them feedback or constructive criticism, they take it personally and they think, oh, this coach doesn't like me, he's attacking me. No, coaches, they have your best interest in mind typically, and they want to see you succeed. They want to help you improve your skills and get better. So be a coachable player. Be willing to take their input and be willing to make adjustments. That's what's going to make you stand out on the field in a positive way. But if you're not coachable, that's going to make you stand out just in a negative way. Obviously, we don't want that. Number 3 is use good body language. In fact, I just read a study that came out that said that up to 93% of communication is nonverbal. So what does that mean? That means that your actions and what you do speak louder than your words or what you say ever will. All right, so when your coaches are talking, look them in the eye, sit up straight, stand up straight. Don't fold your arms like this or look away because that shows disinterest and that shows that I really don't care what's coming out of your mouth. So don't do that. Try to have a smile and stay on the positive side. You don't have to always be smiling, especially when, you know, the situation doesn't really warrant a smile, but always try to stay on the positive side of things. I think you know what good body language is, but it's very important if up to 93% of what you're saying is not really coming out of your mouth. So use good body language to stand out. The next 2 tips go hand in hand, and they are be a team leader and be a great teammate. So let's talk leadership. Every team out there needs leadership. And the reality is at the beginning of the season, the first few practices and even at tryouts, coaches are always looking for who's going to step up, who's going to lead this team, because they understand the best teams out there are self-managed teams, meaning the players themselves are managing their teammates. The players are holding their teammates accountable. Coaches are great to help you get better. They're great to support you. They're great to supervise you. But the best teams out there, the leadership needs to come from the players. So communicate with your teammates. Stay on the positive side. Be a line leader when you're doing drills or when you're stretching. Be the first one up there and be a line leader. And then my biggest recommendation is lead from the front. Lead by example. So be willing to do what you're trying to encourage your teammates to do. If you want them to show up early and put in extra work, you better be doing the exact same thing. So be the team leader that your team desperately needs. That's the first piece. The second piece is be a great teammate. What do great teammates do? Well, when one of their teammates does a job, they pick them up. So when they lay down a great sacrifice bunt, or when they do, they execute a hit and run perfectly, or when they, hit a sac fly, when they drive in a run, when they steal a base, great teammates pick their teammates up when they do something good. And you know what else great teammates do when their teammates fail? They pick them up too. Great teammates, they don't allow their teammates to get too down on themselves. They help them learn from their failure and make adjustments moving forward, and they help them stay on the positive side so that they can get out of their little slumps or their rough patches. So be a great teammate, and to be a great teammate, I just think something that always needs to be in the back of your mind is be the teammate that you wish you had. Another thing you want to do is do everything hard. So that's the next tip. Run hard, hit hard, throw hard. Basically what I'm getting at here is you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail, but the important part is, are you doing it at 100% effort? Are you doing it at full speed? Because it's much easier to take a player that does things hard and hone in on, you know, the finer details of his swing or his base running or something like that. It's easier to do that than it is to try to get that passion and that fuel and that aggressiveness out of a player. That's something that you kind of are born with and you play with, or something that you don't have, unfortunately. And so I encourage you, do everything hard, and you're gonna make mistakes, but just make them at 100% effort. Your coaches will like the effort, and they'll never complain with a guy who plays the game the right way and is always going at 100%. Tip number 7 for standing out on the field is take pride in your defense. Hitting is very important, but it's even better if you can combine being a great hitter with also being a great defender and taking pride in your defense. And here's really how you stand out in terms of, you know, your defensive play on the field. Here's really how you do it. You focus on always making the routine play, consistently making the routine play, and then the non-routine plays, you let your athleticism take over. So that backhand ground ball in the hole where you're gonna make that Derek Jeter jump style throw, well, the reality is nobody really expects you to make that play. That's great if you do, and you'll stand out more if you do, but the play that they expect you to make is the ground ball hit right at you, the routine play. If you get really good at that, really good at the routine plays, you never screw those up. If you get really good at mastering the fundamentals, believe it or not, you're really going to stand out on the field. So take pride in your defense. Another thing you should be doing is play with passion. So that's tip number 8. You know, when I think of passionate baseball players, they're players who play the game with emotion. Players like Pete Rose, that's a guy who he would run hard, he'd slide, he'd get dirty. That's the type of player that you need to be. Passionate players get remembered. A lot of times passionate players are the best players out there anyway, and they're gonna get remembered and they're gonna stand out on the field. So play the game with passion. Don't just go through the motions out there. Play with desire, play with fuel, play with that passion. Number 9 is a big one. This is huge. You have to learn from failure. Failure is inevitable in this game. Baseball is the game of failure. You're sure gonna fail a lot more than you're gonna succeed in this game, but the important part is, are you learning anything from it? Are you just doing the same thing over and over, or are you learning from that failure? And really how you learn from it, I think, is try not to make the same mistakes twice. You're gonna make mistakes in every single aspect of the game, whether it be hitting or defense or base running or throwing. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make mental mistakes, but if you constantly work on trying to avoid those mistakes again in the future, if you work to, you know, only make that mistake once, not twice, you're going to improve at a rapid pace. And then the last tip, tip number 10, is make adjustments. We just talked about failure and how it's part of the game. It's inevitable. You're going to fail. You need to learn from that failure, so figure out, what can I take away from this to improve myself as a ball player moving forward. But a lot of times you're also gonna have to make adjustments. So you might have to make an adjustment with your swing mechanics. You might have to make an adjustment with your routine. You might have to make an adjustment mentally with your plan, with your approach. So don't be afraid to switch things up and make some sort of an adjustment, because I want you to remember that nothing changes if nothing changes, okay? So think about, if you're failing at the plate, if you're going through a slump, well, nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you always do what you've always done, then you're always gonna get what you've always gotten. So that's great if you're having a lot of success at the plate or on the mound or wherever, right? That's great if things are going well, but if they're not going well, what adjustment are you gonna make to turn things around? I really hope these tips were helpful for you. If they were, please hit that like button. I'd appreciate that. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. We're coming out with new videos all the time, every single week, and I don't want you to miss them when we release them. So subscribe to the channel. And last thing, if you're a hitter, I put together an awesome free resource that I really think it's gonna help you. It's called the Contact Point Checklist. I've freeze framed the swing at the point of contact, and I've highlighted a few key elements that you need to make sure that you're doing and that you have incorporated into your swing at the point of contact. It's 100% free, so download it right now. You just have to click on the link down below in the description or in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time.